guys and family, Black Phoenix checking in, owner of HogOn Welding and the founder of HogOn University. And I wanted to talk to you about that because those three things are very important when you're building your business or when you're trying to figure out how you want to start your business. It's always good to know what product you're going to be presenting to whatever area you're in. Because one thing I have learned, certain products you have might be better in a different area. And then certain products in certain areas might work better in that area if it's targeting the people that's around and the price, because you got to think each area, each state, there's a different cost of living. All of that affects it. Certain cities, people pay for more. You got places where a person will rather spend to get things done properly to keep from wasting their time versus areas where people are willing to be cheap. I don't know if I want to spend that much. You know what I mean? To try to, beat around the bush, try to save $1 by spending a dime, so to speak. You know what I mean? So one thing I learned that when you're building your products and you're catering your prices, think about the location. Think about what area you're in, because you might have to, if you go to certain areas, you might have to fine tune the pricing because of that specific fact. So I wanted to talk to you about that this morning. It was something that I was thinking about because a few people asked me about the shipping container conversions and why I haven't been showing any or working on any, because of the pricing and the location of the area. The prices of the shipping containers went up pretty much. When I bought my last one, I spent $2,500 for a 40-footer high cube, and it was $800 to get it, I'm not 800, I'm sorry, $300 to get it shipped to the location that it was going within the city. So pretty much $2,800 for the container alone, not counting, doing anything to it. Now, that same container at the same condition, when I priced it last week, it was actually like, the guy said, well, now they dropped some. This is what he said. Now they're like 47 and a half in this area. This is Arkansas, Southeast Arkansas, Delta area. I actually called around Monticello area, and it was a guy over there, I believe, that had some over there or could get them here for that price. And he said, well, that includes the transporting of the container. So $47.50 now. And I remember a little while ago, it was like $5,000 for the same one used. So it's kind of hard to present a product when you have to charge double the amount just to actually get the product going, on top of you having to get your materials and everything that's going up. I remember before this inflation hit, before the pandemic hit, plywood was around $14 and some change, $15, you know what I mean? Man, it's 80 something dollars. You know what I'm saying? And you thinking like, wow, so if you was spending $100 and you was able to get, 4 or 5 sheets versus you spending $100 only getting one sheet, what you can do with your capital has went down. So, sometimes you have to realize that when you're doing business and you're like, what, I have to switch things up. Even with my shooting targets, family, because I was getting the AR plates, and literally it went from, I think I was spending under $400 for a sheet at the time, for a 4x8 sheet. I was buying 4x8 sheets, and they was cutting them out for me in the sizes. It went from that price, 3 something, to being like 12, 9. It went up to like ridiculous numbers. So I couldn't produce the shooting targets anymore because the price went up. I'm like, I can't see myself, if I'm charging $75 for a basic target, now that same target, I got to charge at least $150 just to break even. It's not worth me producing that product. So even though it was a good product, I had to push back from that because it wasn't going to be profitable in the area. Like, it just didn't make sense. So due to the pandemic, I have learned a few things as far as about products. So sometimes you have to switch things up. And if you think about it, certain companies now, a lot of companies that we shop with for years that we would have never thought went out of business, when that pandemic hit, it hurt a lot of them. They didn't, they didn't survive. If you do some Googling now, I think it's over 40 major companies that you might know of that did not make it during that beginning of that, well, I guess I would say after that second hit of the pandemic, you know what I mean? So, sometimes the product you sell, the pricing, and the location is very, very important. Me being in my hometown right now, I've been thinking about different business moves that I could target this area, that I could actually help the area and actually do business and also kill several birds with one stone. But at the same time, I have to remember where I'm at. And certain things, being in the good old boy system or state, so to speak, certain things you have to do, you have to kiss certain hands and go through different steps. But if you're doing everything like buying the land, producing the building, doing everything yourself, then you can kind of cut out that process. But I don't want to go through the process of renting that existing building, a building that's been around here forever, that whoever family been winning on. I'm like, nah, I don't want to do that. To me, I think that's, I had an opportunity where a guy showed me a nice building and he wanted way too much. Honestly, to me personally, he like wanted $1,100 to rent this building. And I'm like, man, you have to be, doing this or that to actually break even on top of your utilities. And I'm like, why so high? You know what I mean? He's like, well, it's this and this different ways. To me, it's almost like telling me you don't want to rent it out, but he act like he do, but the price is just unreal. So, I have learned that before I invest in someone else's business like that, I would rather try to go find me a piece of land or a lot of something I can buy and put a business there, put something there, or find an old business that went out that they're trying to sell. I think I do better that way versus then trying to go rent something existing. I don't want to go that route. In order for us to really build wealth, especially in black communities, in rural areas, we have to learn to get ownership of the locations, owning our product. We have to own. If it's even a small thing that you own. But don't be so caught up thinking that by diversifying, you're losing ownership. So sometimes it can be some people you can network with that can actually help your business get to another level, and you still own some ownership and you still independent. So, there's many ways to look at that when it comes to business, but, location and prices and key, being here, a lot of things are, I've noticed what's around, what's not around, and then what people are willing to pay for. And some things is crazy because some areas you present certain business to, it might not go just because it's you presenting it. You have to, I did a video one time saying sometimes you have to disguise your business, you know what I mean, in order for it to grow, because in certain areas you have to do that because people be like, well, I don't know, so sometimes you have to disguise it in a way to say, okay, I go shop, okay, I go mess with this, you know what I mean, I network with that. So it all depends on how you present it to. So just keep that in mind when you're building your independence, man. I was thinking about that this morning, and it's Monday, and for the last 3 weeks, man, it's like, how you you tend to go back to the drawing board, like, man, okay, that right there is not going to work. I got to figure this out. And one thing that I learned, especially with multitasking, it's good to knock out those big products or projects, one at a time versus trying to spread yourself. Because sometimes you can spread yourself and it can cause you to be a little fatigued or, lose focus, so to speak. So I think that it's important that we would, try to focus on what we're doing and, realize what area you're in, and don't be afraid to relocate. Like, you can have one area where you literally laying your head in another area where you're doing business at. Once you understand, sometimes you have to completely uproot. I have heard stories where people literally uprooted from living in vehicles, from getting new apartments or buying, renting rooms out or whatever the situation they had to do in order to get to the place they needed to get to start their business. So I think that it's important that we look at every option when it comes to that. So I just wanted to talk to you about that this morning. Let me hit this. Talk to you about that this morning. Like I say, I think it's important because it's very important that we would weigh all our options out and realizing that some things ain't gonna work. You know what I mean? just like, for instance, my stairs, you know what I mean? I made a staircase design and it actually was going good in Phoenix. But once I moved out of that area, it's like it's more, it maybe because it was more dominated in RVs where people was actually traveling down there more, and people was actually living in RVs more because of the climate, the weather. You know, it was actually affordable, and they was still was comfortable, able to live in their RVs. So certain accessories they wanted to have, and it was worth having. You know what I mean? Especially a lot of the older generation wanted more stable stairs, because when you're getting in and out of the RVs, especially once you get older, you know, you can have accidents. And I learned that, and I wasn't even, and I was in my 30s, you know what I mean? Late 30s. I was actually, when I first jumped into the RV life, I was 37. So, you know, I learned a lot from watching the older generation. And one thing that I noticed that I want to speak on real quick, that a lot of them was saying, man, I had to wait till I get, you know, they was in their 60s or 70s or late 50s, and or kind of, you know, you could tell they maybe got hurt in the job, but they had to do 30 years, or, you know, and a lot of them, you know, was enjoying the RV life at a downslope age, at their late ages, and not fully being able to enjoy because they couldn't do the things that they wanted to do because they kind of got too old. So that is a reality. Even though they was able to get out there and enjoy, but it was certain activities, certain things they couldn't do. And I understand why it's important for us to do everything we can in our youth, family. And I'm thankful that I was able to do the RV life in my 30s, because, you know, during that time, you know, I'm 41 now, but during that time, you know, I was very, you know, younger, you know what I'm saying? And, you know, I could really understand. I was helping some of the elders in the park, and I, you know, just learned a few things about networking, building products, just getting ideas and hearing stories. And I think all of those things helped me understand that it was product over talent. Helped me understand that, you know, you're gonna trade your time in, or you're gonna come up with something and trade it in for money. But it's okay to trade your time in, but you don't want to get caught up with doing, you know, to me, in my personal opinion, you know, I can't see myself doing, you know, just getting caught up on a certain job for 20 years and 30 years and then not able to have no type of independence or being broke down. You know, I would rather use it for however long, if need be, use that money to diversify my portfolio as far as investing, so that way when I do come up with the product, you know what I mean, or the relocation, I have the money and the funds to do that. So I think, to me, using the job is like a stepping stone. You know, we should always start from somewhere. The fastest way to get some income is to get a job if you don't have any skills, and if you got a skill, you can actually get paid more. So that's why I think it's important to learn a trade, to, you know, and I always stress welding, because the finances you can get from welding, and the obstacle courses that you don't have to take if you can learn that trade, because a lot of things you don't have to have that you think you got to have to become a good welder and make good money. You know, a lot of people, you know, get intimidated from different things about it. And but once you start learning it, you'll know that, hey man, this is really a tool that I could use to open up a door, you know, like a big door. It's all about using things as a stepping stone, learning how to, you know, build products from it, learning how to use that to do something else. But the main key is understanding you have to use something in order to build your business, and pricing, knowing your product and the location is very, 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 very important. So, you know, being down here, I had to change up a couple things and come up with different products for the area. Now, my goal is to, you know, use this area to, you know, as my resting place. So I still like to be in the city, you know what I mean? It's kind of where you make things happen. Sometimes being in a small area, you can't do what you can do if you were in a big area. Like the impact you can make, the people you can meet, the shoulders you can rub. And I realized that, like, that's just a no-brainer, honestly. Like, once you get out and you come back, you know, some people just have a small mindset. Now, you can be in a small area and do great things once you already got your networking established. Once the things are established, you already established, you can network, you can be in whatever area. Um, you can be out in the boonies somewhere. You know what I'm saying? And if you can get an email, if you can send some mail, you can make something happen. So, a lot of times it's all about getting things established. So it's just something to think about, especially in 2022, man. There's so much going on right now with these wars and different things that can affect us. So we have to think about business. We have to think about location. We have to be willing to relocate if possible, if we need to, and do whatever it takes, man, to gain your independence. Like, don't be afraid to jump off the porch or whatever it is you need to do. Go on and die for it, man. Now is the time. You know what I mean? We don't know how long we got. We don't know what direction things are going to go. So I think it's good and wise that we, take advantage of those things, because when it's all said and done, living to be remembered, as far as knowing you gave life your all, you got a chance to do what you wanted to do, and you gave back, you know what I mean, in whatever form that was. To me, that's important, and especially right now. You know what I mean. Things are crazy, family. Things are crazy. So when I think about business, when I think about the location, you have to be humble and realistic with yourself. So if something isn't working, be able to readjust it to make it work. As far as if the product isn't working, if you know that the pricing isn't working for the area, or that the location you in just isn't working at all, then you need to put whatever you're doing in a complete different location, or come up with something else that can be tailored to that location. Like, a lot of times, if you find a need, I like to say this because everything I have read about business, about entrepreneurship, has been about finding needs. If we find a need in a community and you supply that need, you have income, you have a business. So look for needs. Look for what a need that may not cost a lot of capital if you don't have a lot of capital, because you don't have to have a lot of capital to get certain businesses started, but certain businesses you do. So it all depends on what you're doing. So just look for needs in your lane. Stay in your lane. You know what I mean? You don't want to overextend yourself getting started. So look for needs in the area and try to cater your product and your pricing for that need. And just like I say, everybody got a different avenue and a different idea. So we all look at things differently. So I just think it's key that we just keep in mind that we have to scope out the area, like know what's going on, be realistic with the pricing, realistic with what can happen, what can't happen, what they will pay for, what they won't. You know what I'm saying? Just be realistic. And I think that that's really, really going to help you. Today is the last day of Black History Month, so I think that even though Black History Month is actually in the shortest month of the year, I think that we should always remember. That's why I like to stress Black History 365, because there's so much we can learn from our history, not only just being Black, but just being Americans. There's so much we can learn from where we've been, to understand the fact and realize where we're going. If we don't change certain things, if we keep changing, if we keep evolving. So history is something that is very precious, especially if it's not tainted. You know what I mean? A lot of times history can be tainted or not taught, or it can be disguised, or it can be flipped around. So, but nowadays we can actually find out. There's a lot of information out here that is watered down and cloudy, family. So you have to be cautious, but there's a lot of good information coming from some good sources, some good podcasts, and some good websites, some good areas that's actually producing good knowledge. So stay hungry, and I think, like I say, keep everything in proper perspective when you're building your business, and realizing that certain products, you have to tailor to the area, and remember the pricing. So right now, like I say, I'm not messing with the shipping containers at the moment due to the pricing has went up so high, and the ideal of what I want to do, I am going to get one regardless, because my goal is, I got a goal to do a business venture, and it's going to take me to get one container, one 40-foot high cube, and cut it in half to make two 20 high cubes, and actually start this business venture. But I want to start it with two of them, because it just makes sense if I have two different locations. So, And location is key. Like I say, location is key, and product is key, and what I'm providing is key. So I'm knowing that the direction that we're going in now, we just have to keep all our options open. So that's what I want to do. So I'll be tuning back in. Hopefully everybody have a blessed and prosperous day. Keep everything in perspective. Stay focused. Don't overwhelm yourself. Tell somebody that you love them, because people are passing. It was a funeral this weekend. Some loved ones that I know passed. So rest in love to them. Hearts and prayers go out to their families. So you got someone you love. I just want to say that we're losing people every day. Tell your loved ones you love them. If you got a beef, if you got some type of thing you got on your chest, you need to get it off. Talk to your people, your daughters, your sons, your parents, or whoever it is that you love. Let them know you love them. Be blessed, continues to prosper. I'm out. HogOn.